There's a kind of emptiness that's hard to explain. Your life looks fine. You're functioning. You wake up, you go to work, you reply to messages, you show up when you're supposed to. Nothing is dramatically wrong. No crisis. No heartbreak. No catastrophe. And yet, underneath it all, there's this quiet flatness. You don't feel deeply sad. You don't feel deeply happy. You just feel muted. You scroll. You eat. You watch. You sleep. You repeat. And sometimes, in a rare quiet moment, you wonder. Why do I feel empty when everything is technically okay? This kind of emptiness can be confusing, because it doesn't look like what we expect emotional struggle to look like. There's no dramatic breakdown. No obvious reason to justify how you feel. In fact, you might even feel guilty for feeling this way. You tell yourself, other people have it worse. You say, I should be grateful. You label yourself as unappreciative. But emptiness isn't the same thing as ingratitude. And fine is not the same thing as emotionally fulfilled. A lot of people mistake emptiness for sadness. But they're not the same. Sadness has weight. It has texture. It feels heavy, but it feels like something. Emptiness feels like the absence of something. Like your emotional volume has been turned down without your permission. You can laugh and still feel empty. You can achieve something and feel nothing afterward. You can sit in a room full of people and feel strangely disconnected. This is often emotional numbness. And emotional numbness is not a personality flaw. It's a nervous system response. When your brain experiences chronic stress, not dramatic trauma, but ongoing low-grade pressure, it adapts. Deadlines. Notifications. Social comparison. Constant decision-making. Subtle financial worries. The pressure to be productive. The pressure to be okay. Your nervous system was not designed for endless input. When stimulation and stress become constant, your brain shifts into a kind of functional survival mode. You might not feel panicked. You might not feel unsafe. But underneath, your system is overloaded. And when the nervous system is overloaded for long enough, it does something protective. It flattens. Think of it like this: if your emotional system is overwhelmed, your brain sometimes lowers the intensity of everything, not just the stress, but also the joy. It's like dimming the lights across the entire room because one bulb was too bright. This is why you can feel emotionally detached even when nothing is actively wrong. It's not that you don't care. It's that your system is tired. Chronic stress keeps your body in a subtle fight-or-flight rhythm. Stress hormones like cortisol remain slightly elevated. Over time, this creates mental fatigue. Burnout isn't always dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's quiet depletion. And when depletion sets in, the brain prioritizes efficiency over depth. You stop feeling fully present. You operate on autopilot. You complete tasks, but you don't feel connected to them. That's loss of emotional presence. And modern life makes this easier than ever. There's also dopamine overstimulation. Every scroll, every short video, every notification, every small novelty hit gives your brain a quick spike of dopamine. Dopamine isn't happiness, it's anticipation. It's the chemical that says, maybe the next thing will feel good. But when your brain gets constant microdoses of novelty, it adapts. This is called hedonic adaptation. What used to feel interesting becomes baseline. What used to feel exciting becomes normal. So regular life, quiet conversations, slow mornings, simple pleasures, can start to feel underwhelming. Not because they are meaningless, but because your brain has recalibrated to expect constant stimulation. And when stimulation drops, it can feel like emptiness. There's another layer to this that people don't talk about much: emotional suppression. Many of us learned, quietly and early, to manage our emotions by minimizing them. Don't overreact. Don't be dramatic. Be strong. Be easygoing. Be low maintenance. So instead of fully feeling frustration, disappointment, or loneliness, we smooth them out. We distract ourselves. We stay busy. Over time, when you repeatedly suppress emotional signals, your brain gets better at not feeling them. But emotional systems don't have a selective mute button. When you suppress uncomfortable feelings, you also dull the vibrant ones. That's why emptiness can coexist with stability. Your life may be safe. You may not be in danger. But there's a difference between feeling unsafe and feeling disconnected. Feeling unsafe activates fear. Feeling disconnected feels like drifting. And survival mode doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like being highly functional. You answer emails. You meet deadlines. You keep conversations surface level. You get through the week. But inside, you're just managing. You might notice it in small moments. You finish a long project you worked hard on, and instead of satisfaction, there's just relief. You meet friends for dinner, and halfway through, you feel like you're watching yourself participate rather than actually being there. You lie in bed at night, scrolling, not because you're interested, but because silence feels uncomfortable. That's light dissociation. Not the extreme version people imagine. Just a subtle emotional detachment. A slight separation between you and your experience. Your brain does this when it's tired of processing too much. And here's something important: emptiness is not a sign that you're broken. It's often a sign that your system has been running too long without true restoration. Real restoration is not distraction. It's not vacation photos. It's not entertainment. It's nervous system regulation. It's emotional honesty. It's meaningful engagement instead of constant stimulation. So how do you start reconnecting when you feel flat? Not by forcing positivity. Not by chasing bigger highs. But by gently retraining your attention. First, reduce overstimulation, even slightly. Your brain needs space to recalibrate its dopamine baseline. This might mean short periods without scrolling. Walking without headphones. Driving without a podcast. Letting your mind wander without input. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. That discomfort isn't proof you're doing it wrong. It's your nervous system noticing the drop in stimulation. If you stay with it gently, your brain slowly relearns how to engage with subtler experiences. Second, practice naming emotions, even faint ones. Emotional numbness isn't always a total absence. Sometimes it's low-resolution emotion. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" try asking, "If I had to guess, what might I be feeling right now?" Maybe it's mild frustration. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's quiet loneliness. Labeling emotions activates parts of the brain that help regulate them. When you name a feeling, you create connection instead of suppression. Over time, this increases emotional granularity, your ability to detect and differentiate subtle states. Third, reconnect with physical presence. Emotions live in the body. When you're detached, you're often living mostly in your head. Simple things matter here. Notice the weight of your body in a chair. The temperature of the air. The feeling of water in the shower. Slow your breathing slightly. Longer exhales signal safety to the nervous system. These aren't trendy wellness tricks. They directly calm the stress response and increase parasympathetic activity, the rest and restore system. When the body feels safer and slower, emotional depth becomes more accessible. Fourth, create moments of emotional honesty. Not dramatic confessions. Just small truth-telling. If someone asks how you are, maybe instead of saying, "Fine," you say, "Honestly, I've been feeling a little off lately." Even that small shift reduces emotional suppression. It signals to your brain that your internal state matters. And finally, look at where you might be living in constant functional survival mode. Are you always optimizing? Always planning the next step? Always filling silence? When life becomes a checklist, emotional presence fades. Try doing one thing a little slower than necessary. Eat without multitasking. Listen to someone without preparing your response. Engage in something not because it's productive, but because it's absorbing. Meaning restores depth. Stimulation only fills space. If you feel empty, it doesn't mean your life is meaningless. It might mean your nervous system is tired. It might mean your brain adapted to chronic input. It might mean you've been strong for a long time. Emptiness is often a quiet signal, not that you need a new life, but that you need reconnection within the one you have. And reconnection is slow. It doesn't arrive in a sudden wave of inspiration. It returns in small flickers. A moment of genuine laughter. A conversation that feels real. A quiet sense of calm that lasts a few seconds longer than usual. You're not ungrateful. You're not defective. You're not failing at life. You might just be exhausted in a way that doesn't look dramatic enough to justify itself. If this resonates with you, let this be the reassurance. Feeling empty when life is fine is more common than people admit. And it doesn't mean you're incapable of feeling deeply again. It means your system needs gentleness instead of pressure. It means fine isn't the same as fulfilled. And it means that somewhere under the numbness, you're still there, waiting, quietly, to feel present again. You're not alone in this. And you're not as disconnected as you think.